In this video, we're going to be taking a look at rounding decimals. Now, the essential question that we're going to be taking a look at is how can you use place value to round decimals to a given place? Now, you will need to open up your Go Math book to page 117, get out your math journal and your pencil. Okay, now we have the problem on page 117. It says the gold frog of South America is one of the smallest frogs in the world. It is 386 thousandths of an inch long. What is the length rounded to the nearest hundredth of an inch? So the first thing we want to do is just underline that number. Okay, so one way that we could do this is we could write this decimal in a place value chart. Okay, so we have 0 in the ones place, 3 in the tenths, 8 in the hundredths, and 6 in the thousandths place. Okay, now in the place value chart, what we can do next is we want to underline the digit to the right of the place which you are rounding. Okay, so we are looking at rounding it to the nearest hundredth of an inch. So what we will do, we will round it. We're going to take a look at the digit to the right of the hundredths place. Okay, now what we can do whenever we're rounding, if the digit to the right is less than 5, very important, the digit in the place value to which you're rounding stays the same. If the digit to the right is 5 or greater, the digit in the rounding place increases by 1. So it's very, very important. If it's less than 5, the digit stays the same. It does not go down 1. However, if it's 5 or greater, the digit in the rounding place increases by 1. Okay, so we can see within this problem here that the digit to the right of my hundredths place is 6. So that is greater than 5. Okay, so because that 6 is greater than 5, we're going to change that 8 to a 9. All right, we can rewrite the ones place, rewrite the tenths place. Okay, that 8 turns into a 9. And then after that, drop the digits after the place to which you are rounding. So we don't even need to worry about that 6 anymore. We drop those digits. If it were a whole number, those would turn to zeros. Okay, so we could see, so to the nearest hundredth of an inch, a gold frog is about 39 hundredths of an inch long. Okay, another way that we can do this is not using a place value chart, is just understanding the place value. Okay, so it says the little grass frog is the smallest frog in North America. It is 437 thousandths of an inch long. What is the length of the frog to the nearest hundredth of an inch? Okay, so the first thing we need to do is underline that digit to the right of the hundredths place. Okay, now we can circle the hundredths place. Alright, so we see the digit to the right of that hundredths is greater than 5. So 7 is obviously 5 or greater. So since the 7 is 5 or greater, we're going to increase that 3 by 1, making it a 4. All the digits to the left of that rounded place stay the same. So the 0, the decimal point, and the 4 to the left of that hundredths place does stay the same. However, that 3 does turn into a 4. So we can see, so the nearest hundredth of an inch, the frog is about 44 hundredths of an inch long. So the next one, what is the length of the frog to the nearest tenth of an inch? Okay, so what we want to do, we want to circle that, underline that 3, circle the 4. We underline the number that we're keying in on. If that 3 is less than 4, what you do is you just keep that, not less than 4, but less than 5. Okay, if it's 4 or less, you keep that digit that you're rounding to the place value the same, and once again you drop the rest of these digits. Okay, so we know that 3 is obviously less than 5. So to the nearest tenth of an inch, the frog is about 4/10ths of an inch long. It's very important to know, very easy to make this mistake, that 3 is is 4 or less, so that does not mean that 4 changes to a 3. It just stays the same. So the nearest tenth of an inch, the frog is about 4/10ths of an inch long. Okay, we're going to take a look at a frog that is much bigger than the other ones we were just looking at. It says the Goliath frog is the largest frog in the world. It is found in the country of Cameroon in West Africa. The Goliath frog can grow to be 11 and 815 thousandths inches long. How long is the Goliath frog to the nearest inch? So we're going to use a place value chart. What we can do, we're going to write the number in the place value chart just like this. I want you to write it in your Go Math book as well. Now what we want to do is we want to find the place to which we want to round, and we're going to circle that. So we're going to circle the ones place. Why is it the ones place? Because we are rounding to the nearest inch. Okay, and then after that, what we want to do is underline to the digit to the right of the place value to which we are rounding. So we're going to underline that 8. All right, now we know obviously that the 8 is 5 or greater. So since that 8 is 5 or greater, what we are going to do is we are going to increase this 1 by 1. Okay, if it were 4 or less, we would just keep that 1 the same. Okay, so we're going to increase that 1 by the 1. Since we're rounding to the ones place, that 1 is going to turn into a 2. The tens place stays the same. And then all the other digits, the 8, the 1, and the 5 get dropped, or they turn to 0. So since it's a decimal, they can just get dropped. Okay, so we round that 11 and 815 thousandths to 12 inches. So to the nearest inch, the Goliath frog is about 12 inches long. Okay, so let's take a look at that bottom section, the try this section on page 118. We're rounding 14 and 603 thousandths. Okay, so in the tenths place, we're going to rewrite this. The 1, the 4, the 6, the 0, and 3. Okay, we're going to round this to the nearest hundredth. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to circle and underline the digits as you did on the previous screen to help you round to the nearest hundredth here. Okay, so what we want to do, circle the hundredths place, underline the thousandths because we always look to the right of the place we're going to round. Okay, so we can see that that 3 is 4 or less. So since that 3 is 4 or less, that 0 stays the same. And with a decimal, since it's the final number to the right, it can actually just get dropped. Okay, so the nearest hundredth, it is rounded to 14 and 60 hundredths. All right, now if we're going to round 14 and 603 thousandths to the nearest whole number, let's just rewrite it in our place value again. This time we are circling the number 4 because it's to the nearest whole number, and we're going to underline that 6 because it's to the right of the place we are rounding. Okay, so we can key in on that 6. That is obviously 5 or greater. So since that 6 is 5 or greater, we're going to add 1 more to the ones place, making that 4 into a 15. I'm sorry, into a 5, and then adding my 1. Now, since this is a decimal, all the numbers to the right of that decimal, they're turned into zeros after we have rounded, so therefore they can just be dropped. Okay, so 14 and 603 thousandths rounded to the nearest whole number is 15. Okay, now let's turn to page 119. It says, name the place value of the underlined digit, round each number to the place of the underlined digit. So we can see for 673 thousandths, okay, we can see that that underlined digit is in the hundredths place. All right, so we're going to round each number to the place of the underlined digit. So that then since that's the hundredths, okay, what we do is we take a look to the right of that hundredths place. That is 4 or less. So since it's 4 or less, that 7 will stay the same. So 673 thousandths rounded to the nearest hundredths is going to be 67 hundredths. Okay, now I want you to do these next two all by yourself. Give me the name of the place value that's underlined and then round it to that place value. So I want you to complete these two problems all by yourself, and when you're finished I will have the answer for you. So pause the video now. Okay, here are the answers. You can see we have the tenths place, and then 4 3/10, and then rounding 12 and 917 thousandths to the ones place, we have 13. Okay, now this next section, the on your own section, it says name the place value to which each number was rounded. Okay, so you can basically just see that 328 thousandths, okay, was turned to 33 hundredths. All right, and you can see basically whatever place value the final digit falls into to the right, that's what place value it was rounded to. Okay, so since my 3 falls in the hundredths place, that means that this was rounded to the hundredths place. And I want you to do these next two all by yourself, and when you're finished you can press play and I will have the answer for you. So pause the video now. Okay, the answer for the next problem was hundredths. How do we know it's in the hundredths place? Because that final digit, that 1, it falls in the hundredths place. And then finally 13 was rounded to the ones place. Why do I know it's the ones place? Because that final digit to the right is in the ones place. Okay, now what I want you to do is I want you to round 16 and 748 thousandths. You're going to round this to the tenths place, then to the hundredths place, and then finally to the ones place. So you'll have 3 answers using this number for all 3 answers, and when you're finished you can press play and I will have the answer for you. So pause the video now. Okay, so you can see all of these answers. 16 and 7/10 rounded to the tenths place, 16 and 75 hundredths rounded to the hundredths place, then finally to the ones place. It is 17. Okay, let's take a look at this test prep problem. To which place value is the number rounded? I want you to fill this problem or work this problem out at your seat. When you're finished you can press play. I will have the answer for you. So pause the video now. Okay, you can see the answer is letter C, hundredths. Why do we know it's the hundredths? Because the final number to the right falls in the hundredths place. Now taking a look at the essential question, we can see how can you use place value to round decimals to a given place. You can see the answer right here on the screen. I want you to read through this, and once you have done that, that will conclude our video. And if you have any questions about rounding decimals, please come and see me.